Hey, on people. This is a follow-up to that furry potato. So, and this is a new microphone too, so I'm not sure what the settings are like. It's a Samsung, so if you got audio issues, let me know in the comments. I'm sure you will. So I sent an email to the LA District Attorney's Office saying, hey, there's a 2-page document on why you dropped charges on the security guard that shot Furry Tater, Fuzzy Potato, whatever. And I'd kind of like to know what your thought process or why you didn't charge. So they sent me the following. So they sent me this 2-page document. This is 1 page, and then this is another page. So I want to concentrate on kind of their wording down here. So there's a lot of confusion about whether or not the school was closed and whether or not this is Jewish privilege or they were paid off or they're getting off because they're Jew. All right, let's look at what the DA's office made their decision on, then I'll give you my opinion. It's a high school. It's an all-girls school. It's a Jewish high school associated with some other stuff that is kind of irrelevant. It's located at this address. On February 14th, Zoe, that's the security guard, let's see, the school had approximately 124 students and staff members present. There's a lot of people that say school wasn't even in session. According to this, they're saying it was in session. School was in session. Perez was dressed in all black. Perez is Fuzzy Potato, whatever her call name is, was dressed in all black with a backpack secured to her body. Members were present. School was in session. That's kind of key, and it changes things. Now we have kids in a school that are fearful. They end up going on lockdown. So that does make the threat a little bit more. I'm not saying I agree with this just yet. I'm not sure where I stand on it. I haven't really read it line by line. Perez was dressed in all black with a backpack. Perez carried a small handheld camera rig. Dressed in all black and carrying a camera rig, I'm not sure that makes her a threat or her a threat. Perez loitered near the school, including she was filming the school, including windows and doors. Okay, filming's not a crime. Even if she was filming it for some other unlawful measures later, there was no indication that she was committing a crime or doing something or was a threat because she was taking pictures. I mean, if you could arrest people for taking pictures, which is I'm sure the government would like, because then they would exempt themselves and they could videotape you and you couldn't videotape them. But that's not the case just yet. We're still in America, and unless we're on YouTube, we have to follow their tone standards. So hopefully my tone will be okay, and YouTube won't try to come down on me for this video for trying to spread the truth and get information out. Let's see. Confronted her. Zalela. I think they're still talking about. Let's see. Zoe Perez. Did I get the names wrong? Zoe Perez is the Fuzzy Potato. Zalela is the security guard. So he noticed Perez and confronted her on what she was doing, telling her to get away. Did he have authority to do that? I don't think so. Was she committing a crime? No. A lot of things in the law come down to what was the intent and was a person authorized to be where they were at. Now, if she was trespassing and he told her to get away, now she becomes the primary aggressor or the trespasser. She's committing a crime and anything that happens would fall on her. But she was on a public sidewalk. She wasn't committing a crime and she was videotaping. So I don't think she's a threat. And I think him seeing her as a threat is unreasonable. But the DA's office doesn't agree. Perez gave no response and continued her activity. So she ignored him. Didn't threaten him. Didn't say, I'm going to do this. Just ignored him. Zayla radioed to ask that LAPD be summoned. So he called for law enforcement. This helps him because it shows his intent. In his mind, he thought something was wrong and he was scared. Whether or not it was reasonable is something else. But his actions are reasonable for a person that would be concerned. He called the police and one of the police called. All right, so he's saying, I'm worried. Over the next 20 minutes, security guard continued to follow and warn Fuzzy. Fuzzy continued to walk around the exterior of the school, filming in silence, not committing crime, not threatening, not saying anything that would raise his suspicion. I don't see any action whatsoever that justifies the guy shooting, but evidently the DA's office did. Eventually, as Fuzzy moved to the side of the building, the security guard entered the school to warn staff. So, not only has he called the police, not only has he told her to leave, he's now went in and warned the staff that he's worried about this person around here. Is that reasonable? Not for me, but I don't know what he knew. Remember, reasonableness is applied on what he knew. So his statement, or his lawyer's statement after they talked to him, which is we're going to get to in a minute. Students and teachers were moved to a safe location and placed in lockdown. Now, this goes to show the credibility that the teachers were scared, the school was scared, and everyone was acting in behavior that demonstrated they were in fear. Whether or not that fear was reasonable is another question, but they were acting as if they were in fear. Everybody. Security guard exited the building into the courtyard porch security area by a wrought iron fence. Security guard stood inside and just outside. Perez continued to film. Again, no crime. She's in a public place. She's not doing anything wrong. Was their fear reasonable? I'm going to add something here, and the DA adds something here that changes all this. Right now, from what I'm reading, I don't see reasonableness, but I might be swayed a little bit. Security guard told Fuzzy, go away. Security guard warned Fuzzy that he would shoot her if she tried to enter the school. Again, he's letting her know that he's fearful. Is her actions reasonable to hang around when the guy with a gun is saying, dude, if you come in here, I'm going to shoot you? If she thought it was wrong, should she have left and she called the cops? She could have. Shoulda, coulda, woulda. She didn't. Security guard warned Perez of the consequences earlier. Perez, now this is where it gets, Perez made a slight movement. What kind of movement? Was it a threatening movement? Was it a furtive movement? Was she reaching her pants like she was grabbing? What kind of movement? They don't say. They just say Perez made a slight movement. Security guard it's going to be unholstered here. Unholstered his firearm, Glock 40, and fired a warning shot at the ground. Now, they're just saying what he did here. The bullet ricocheted off the ground. A fragment of the bullet or concrete, and I thought it might have been a piece of concrete or a fragment also, struck Fuzzy in the middle of her right thigh. When force is used in defense of others, the law requires an actual or reasonable belief that that force was necessary to defend against the threat of imminent injury and that the level of force was reasonable. This is probably the key sentence in this whole thing. So when force is used in defense of self or others, and this security guard is saying he used force in defense of others because he was fearful, the law requires an actual or reasonable belief. Was his belief reasonable? From what I've read so far, no. I'm about to get to a part that I think it might rise to the level of reasonableness, or at least make reasonableness clouded. The force is necessary, and the level of force was reasonable. Since he didn't shoot at her, since he didn't try to harm her, they're saying his level of force was reasonable if he felt that the students or himself was in danger. That's basically what they're saying. And they're saying Cal Crim 3470. I'm not sure if that's a criminal code. I don't know why they use Cal Crim. Let me Google that. So Cal Crim 3470, right of self-defense or defense of others, non-homicide. So according to this section, self-defense is defense, insert crimes. The defendant is not guilty of those crimes if he used force against another person in a lawful self-defense or defense of others. The defendant acted in lawful self-defense or defense of others. And it says, if, 1, the defendant reasonably believed that he or she or someone was in danger. The security guard did believe this. and the DA felt it was reasonable. We'll get to why they thought it was reasonable in a second. Suffering bodily injury or being touched unlawfully. Now they're saying suffering bodily injury or imminent danger of being touched unlawfully. Damn, that could be like a shove. But because that's in there, was the security guard worried that she was going to touch him or enter the school? Evidently so. And then 2, the defendant reasonably believed that the immediate use of force was necessary to defend against the danger. Did he believe that? He called the cops immediately. He went in and he warned her to stay away, and he said he was going to shoot if she came any closer. So did he believe? I think he did. And 3, the defendant used no more force than reasonably necessary. Did he use more than what was reasonably necessary? I don't think so. I thought firing a shot was a little too much. I think drawing his gun, putting his hand on his gun, that would have been okay. When he fired a shot, I don't know about that. Belief in future harm is not sufficient. No matter how great or how likely the harm is to believe, the defendant must have believed there was imminent danger to himself or others, and that he must have acted because of that belief. Did he shoot the ground because he was just playing around or goofing off? No. He was scared. I think it was an accident. He said he did it on purpose. The defendant is not only entitled to use that amount of force that a reasonable person would believe necessary in the same situation. If the defendant uses more force than is reasonable, the defendant did not act in a lawful self-defense of others. So he didn't use more force. They said he's okay. When deciding whether the defendant's beliefs was reasonable, consider all the circumstances as they are known or appeared to the defendant. So this is key. It's what's known to the defendant or how it appeared. And I always say it's a state of mind of the person using the force that counts. It's not what others think when they hear it, read it, or see a clip. It's the state of mind of the person. Consider what was reasonable. Person on a similar situation have knowledge or belief that the defendant believes were reasonable. The danger does not need to have actually existed. So, this is key. Was there an actual threat? No. Did he believe it? Yes. Therefore, he's covered. The slightest touching can be unlawful if done in a rude and angry way. Making contact with another person, including through his or her clothing, is enough. The touching does not have to cause pain or injury. I mean, it's pretty much, if you kind of blow on somebody, you can get charged with this. Anyway, someone was threatened, 34, defense, insanity defense. So basically, hang on, let me read the bench notes here. The court must instruct the defense when the defendant requests it. There is substantial evidence supporting the defense. The court has a sua sponte duty. I don't know what the hell that is. Somebody's going to be like, what is that? So here it is. In law, describes the authority taken formal prompting of another party. The term is usually applied to actions by a judge taken without prior motion or request from other parties. So back to the document that LA District Attorney sent me. On the issues of actual belief prior to, he told the staff to move to a safe location, thereby commencing the school's lockdown. The action alone would establish that security guard actually believed Perez posed an enemy. So they're saying the fact that he told them to go on a lockdown proves to them that he was in a reasonable amount of fear. And he was protecting the students. Why isn't this thing going up? Well, I'll just move this down. On the issue of reasonableness of the security guard's belief, in combined wakes of mass shootings and increased anti-Semitic violence, this is where it changes my mind. See, they have information that I don't have. So if the security guard or his attorneys said he was acting because he's guarding a Jewish church, and there have been a lot of anti-Semitic attacks on Jewish facilities, and he knows this, and it's part of his job to keep up with current events, since that's his job to protect the facility. So it's reasonable that he has read, and they probably gave a list of a bunch of different attacks on Jewish churches, and said that, hey, the security guard knew all this, he read it, he kept up on it, and that's why his fear was reasonable. This changes my mind if there were a lot of attacks within a recent time period with her coming up. I still don't think she was wrong. I still think she was lawful. I still don't think you should shoot somebody. I know people are going to be here saying I'm taking the cop side or the security guard or I'm a Jew lover or whatever else you want to. I'm just telling you my opinion of the law, the way it reads. There's a lot of wiggle room, and DAs can do what they want, and they decided that his actions were reasonable. It wasn't excessive. There was a reasonable fear. He felt that fear. He acted on that fear, and he did a minimum use of force by firing a warning shot on the ground. It was unfortunate she was struck. He wasn't trying to strike her, and therefore they were not going to charge him. And that's basically what it says. Conclusion, behavior was dangerous, was reasonable. So because of this, the evidence supports the conclusion that the security guard's perception of Perez's behavior as dangerous was reasonable. That's what the DA concluded. They can do that. That's why they did it. Perez went to a Jewish school, place of worship, dressed all in black. Zalela told detectives Perez's backpack could have contained a bomb. Now, when you start shooting people or justifying because it's bomb, that would be wrong. But remember, totality of circumstances, and everybody wants to come to my videos and always pick one thing and say, well, you said this on this point, you said this on another. That's right, because when you get more information, it changes. So this, we're looking at the security guard saying, hey, she was dressed in all black. Not that black is bad. Easy, YouTube. I'm just reading this. It says that she was dressed in all black. She had a backpack secured by body harness and could have contained a bomb. And her attire could have concealed a firearm or other deadly weapon. Coulda, woulda, shoulda, but again, he didn't shoot her because she had a backpack. He didn't shoot her because she was dressed in black. He didn't shoot her because she had a camera. Totality of circumstances is he knew there were a lot of anti-Semitic attacks on Jewish facilities. He was guarding a Jewish facility. He was in general reasonable fear. He'd locked down a school. There was kids in a school. His job was to protect them. He used a minimum amount of force firing on the ground. She was accidentally struck, and therefore they found it was reasonable, not excessive, and not unreasonable. I'm not saying I agree. I'm just trying to get you to understand how they made this conclusion. Security guard told detectives could have contained. Father reported that Perez had her left hand in the pocket of her hoodie. Well, and that could be true. Her hand was concealed. And again, that lone fact is not enough for him to do it, but combined with the other facts, it's reasonable that it would raise his concern. I'm not sure shooting a bullet in the ground is reasonable. I haven't gone there yet, but I'm trying to get you to understand how they do it. She appeared to be making a squeezing motion. Maybe she was adjusting her microphone. Maybe she was squeezing something else. I don't know what she was squeezing with her hand in her hoodie. But if he saw her hand squeezing something, he could have took it as fear. Let's see. The fact that Perez had no bomb or weapon would not defeat self-defense or others because actual danger need not exist. Remember, I read that? The actual thing does not need to exist. It only needs to be reasonable that it could or that you believe it exists. Additionally, Perez's focus on filming certain aspects of the school could have been viewed as a search of the most vulnerable access entry points. So what? You can. Are you saying you can't videotape? I don't know why they put that in there. That's total BS. But they're trying to justify why they did what they did. When Perez was asked to explain why she was doing or asked to explain what she was doing by the security guard who expressed his concern, Perez was threatening terrorist activity. Wait a minute. His concern that Perez was threatening terrorist activity, and by a passerby who expressed his concern that Perez activity was threatening to school. Uh-oh. Sounds like they got a witness, a passerby, that said something, and I don't know if it was in the video. I don't remember the complete video. I think I ended up taking them down because I was afraid YouTube was going to, find something wrong with my tone and give me another damn strike. So I took the video down. You can probably find it somewhere else. Again, there's no free. I don't even know if I'll post this. I might post this on Bitchute because at least I can talk there without worrying that, somebody at YouTube's going to get offended and say they didn't like my tone. Perez was threatening terrorist activities. Activity was threatening the school. Perez did nothing to allay those fears. So they're saying that she didn't say, hey, I'm no threat. I'm not here to harm anybody. I'm simply exercising. I don't know if she said all that or not, but they're saying that she didn't try to ease his fears. And she didn't. I mean, a lot of these auditors kind of get in your face, go, hey, I'm not doing anything wrong. I don't have to answer your questions. I don't have to justify. I don't have to show you ID. I don't have to do anything. I can fear you. And they're right. They can. But other people can feel threatened. On the contrary, her purposeful silence amplified those fears. And in light of Perez's behavior, the security guard's concerns has reasonable. Again, they keep saying the guy was reasonable. On the use of force, Zayla believed Perez was an intimate danger to the school and students and himself, that Zayla may have had a bomb in a backpack. Zayla had authority to demand that Perez... Wait a minute. Security guard had the authority to demand that Perez leave the sidewalk adjacent to school under Penal Code 628%, disrupting a school and then remaining on an adjacent sidewalk. Ooh! Nice pull out, DA. That's a good point. It looks like PC 626.8. There's a section that says disrupting a school and then remaining on the adjacent sidewalk or street after being asked to leave by an authorized person is a misdemeanor. Oh, that's where they got her. At that point, she committed a misdemeanor. They could have charged her. He obviously had authority. He was wearing a school, I don't know, designator. He was there and he told her to leave. She committed a misdemeanor by not leaving according to PC 626. I did not know that was a charge, and I didn't think he had authority over the sidewalk. Evidently, the legislator, the commie California run by the left, we need more rules and more government and more everything, passed a law that sidewalks now next to school are protected. So she committed a misdemeanor, changes everything. This automatically makes her the violator and him in the right for protecting the school. Man, I didn't read this when I scanned over this earlier. This is huge. After Perez remained next to the building and appeared to reach in her pocket, Zayla fired on the ground. The action intended to get Perez to move away. Zayla had requested LAPD be summoned. Zayla's actions were in line with keeping Perez away from the building. Perez received a minor injury. Given the minor injury, we lack sufficient proof to demonstrate that Zayla used unreasonable level of force under the circumstances. For those reasons, the case must be declined. You know what? I know I'm going to piss some people off. I kind of agree with them. If there's a section that says that she can't be there, you know, even though she didn't know it, if you mess around with a school, and I get that, hey, you want to make sure kids are protected in school and you don't want people hanging around. If somebody walks up and says you're hanging around, says you need to leave, and you don't leave, they need to be able to do something to get you to leave or to call the cops. So, hey, I'm sorry if I upset you guys. I agree with the LADA's office on this, and I know I'm going to be pissing some people off, but you know what? Sorry. It changed my mind. And again, with more information, things change. 23-minute video. I know I went long. Hopefully you got something out of it. Thanks to LA County DAs for sending me this. I will post this on my website. I'll have a link so you can download the documents and share, because a lot of people are talking about this document, and I haven't been able to get a copy of it until they sent it to me. All right, we'll end that there.